Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. The topic that was given is narrow, and I want to talk about some larger issues. Actually, as somebody said, and his work is very relevant, Polanyi, The Great Transformation, he writes that institutions are the representation of human purpose. So in the morning session also this was mentioned that just having good feelings and good character is not enough. You need to have also some institutional structure which will translate the purpose into reality. So once there is a big problem with the structure of Western knowledge as it is currently, and that problem is going to be the main focus of my talk. But basically the problem is that in the West there was a loss of faith. They came to understand in Europe that the religious leaders were not acting according to the principles that they espoused. There was as a result of this crisis, the Reformation, the Protestant movement started, and then there were many different factions and they were all fighting each other. So the story became famous in Europe that religion is the source of all human problems. So people fight because they have religion, there's terrorism, violence because of religion, there's injustice because of religion, everything that is bad is due to religion. So then some people started this so-called enlightenment, in which the idea was that human reason would solve all our problems, including moral and including all human issues. They would be solved by looking at human reason and looking at empirical evidence. So basically, one of the things that the European thinkers realized or thought was that, look at this religion, everybody has believed this deeply for centuries, but it was wrong. So what should we do? Now, because they were betrayed by their religion, so they vowed that now I will only trust what I can touch and see. So this is actually the source of materialism, that if something you can see, then it exists, and if you cannot see it, it doesn't exist. So, see, the Quran starts with saying that this is guidance for those people who believe. ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابُ لَا رَيْبَ فِيهِ هُدًى لِلْمُتَّقِينَ الَّذِينَ يُؤْمِنُونَ بِالْغَيْبِ. And the first characteristic of those people who are the believers are that they believe in the unseen. Now, modernism, secular modern thought, starts from the assumption that we don't believe in the unseen. So, the training that we all get in universities is very deeply influenced by secular modern thought. Now, the conversations that we are having, basically an interfaith dialogue cannot take place under the assumptions of secular modern thinking. We have been trained to talk in certain ways. This is what the rules of discourse are. So in those rules, you cannot mention invisibles. You cannot talk about spirituality. You cannot talk about in an academic discourse, because the idea is that you have to find empirical evidence. If you cannot find empirical evidence for something, then you cannot. Then it is not respectable topic for academic discourse. So the problem that arose in the intellectual developments that took place in the West is that they denied the existence of the unseen, and so in many different areas, including political science, including economics, including psychology, the idea that unobservables cannot be mentioned had a very damaging effect, in the body of knowledge that was constructed as a result of this this commitment to observables only. And furthermore, this secular modern thinking is hegemonic discourse. It rules, it controls, and it dominates. And it was thought on this basis that this idea, this was thought to be aql. This was thought to be reason, rationality itself. And so, because it was thought to be reason, it was assumed that once this idea, once this way of reasoning, once this way of thinking spreads, then religion will disappear. Because, and so many moderns confidently predicted that there will be no religion by 2000. There were just a few people who will be, in 1960s, this was widely believed. Religion did not disappear, but, and so again, now only after 2000, people in academia are starting to look at religion once more. But there is a very serious problem, because according to the fundamental assumptions which are at the back of secular modern discourse, talk, religion is basically irrational. Religion is a collection of superstitious beliefs, beliefs in things for which no empirical evidence exists, and also it's contradictory. It contradicts each other. There doesn't have any coherence, doesn't have any logic. So when people talk in the secular modern discourse about religion, then they say that these are some irrational people and they have some strange kinds of beliefs, and we can study this as a phenomena, but you cannot study religion on its own terms as a coherent and internal system. So what we have to do is to understand that modernity itself is a religion. It's a very powerful religion. It has its own beliefs. It has its own structure systems. Once we understand modernity as a religion, then you can compare it to other religions and see how well it does at solving the problems of human beings, which we are currently discussing. I mean, we are discussing how to solve the fact that, in the first session there was the talk of the end of history. Now, if by that it is meant that now modernity has come to prevail and it will dominate and everything else will be finished. But actually the results of modernity that we are seeing is this major environmental crisis, and if the environmental crisis continues at the same rate, currently of course thousands of animals are getting killed off, the species, at a rate that has never before been seen. And if the polar caps melt, and this world might be destroyed. I mean, it might not remain possible for human life to exist on this planet. if the environmental destruction continues. يُظْهِرُ الْفَسَادَ فِي الْبَرِّ وَالْبَحْرِ بِمَا كَسَبَتْ أَيْدِي النَّاسِ. So, a lot of fitna and a lot of fasad has appeared on the face of the earth because human beings are doing a lot of evil. So, one of the key ideas of materialism, of modernism, is that only that which can be observed exists and that which cannot be seen doesn't exist. So, the behavioral psychology which came into being as a result of this kind of thinking says that human beings are just robots. They respond to stimulus and then they behave in certain ways which you can predict. If you look at all of the stimulus and response sequences that are observed by human beings, then you can tell what the person is going to do. But this turned out not to be so, and so now people have started to slowly move away from that. Similarly, in economics, you see, in economic theory, the fundamental assumption is that human beings are selfish. This is and what is the object of life according to economic theory? The object of life is to maximize lifetime consumption. You basically, this is how the economic theory is organized. So, and that's quite natural. If you reject the unseen, if you reject afterlife, you reject God, then the only thing left is to maximize your pleasure while you are in this dunya. So, from the point of view of economic theory, a society in which there are people who are God conscious, who are generous, who give to others, who have compassion, this society is not subject to analysis by modern economic theory. It cannot deal with that because the agents, the people in such an economy don't satisfy the axioms. So, basically one of the sources of knowledge, the only source of knowledge according to modern secular thought, is science. Now, science consists of only objective things, and this is another one of the assumptions of modernity, that knowledge is objective and opinions, subjective things, are not part of knowledge, and it is true, they are not part of scientific knowledge. But real human knowledge is purely subjective. It is, how do I know myself? How do I know who the other people are? And this knowledge has actually been a loss of knowledge in economics, in political science, in all of these other subjects, because the West rejected human experience as a source of knowledge. How I feel, this is irrelevant. How you feel, but actually this is the most important thing. In the first session there was much discussion about the fact that character is everything. Now, what is character? How can I be? You see, Allah Ta'ala created the seed. In this seed there is the potential to grow up to be a tree if it receives the right environment. Just like that, every human being has the capability to become something which is very astonishing. And it is for this purpose that we are put on this planet. If we make the right decisions in response to the tests that we face, then we will grow spiritually, morally, physically, intellectually. All of these are dimensions along which we can grow if we act in the right way. And this is what all religions teach about, how we can become human beings. Today, because of this loss of knowledge, there is no peace, there is no harmony, man is exploiting man is exploiting environment, and there is no concept of justice, there is no sympathy. It is not just that the people look at the forest and they say, oh, this is wood which can be used for sale and to make a profit. And there is a species of animals, and they say, oh, if we kill them, then we can use their fur for making coats and make profits. And there is no sympathy. Why? Because the heart has been taken out of the calculation. So now this is a desperate situation, because unless we re-enter the heart into the equation, unless we understand how we can learn to be human beings, then there is no possibility for peace, there is no possibility for harmony, there is no possibility for sustainable development. So how can we put this back into the equation? Well, right now it's clear that, as I said, in secular modern thinking, human experience is not part of the picture, it's not knowledge. All of the religions are based on human experience alone. So there is a big divide. And because of this divide, the secular modern people don't think that religion represents any kind of knowledge at all, because it is all about subjective, and subjective thing is not knowledge. Now, the Sufia have said that man comes to know himself. Now, how can I know myself? Am I angry? Am I happy? Am I sad? Well, this is not actually immediately obvious to me. I have to study. I have to study myself, and in this matter, no book can help me, and actually not even any person, because my nafs is open to my own examination only. If I can get to know myself, then on that basis I can know other people also, because by guessing about myself I can guess about others, and I can get to know God, because all the people are the creation of God. And so by studying the properties of God, the sifat, how He has created people, I can get to know God. But all of this is a very subjective experiential journey in which there have been many masters, and the Sufia have studied this and have developed methods of training, and in all religious traditions there are ways to deal with how we can develop as human beings. So let me just say that I was trained in the West. I did my bachelor's and master's and PhD, and this process literally killed my soul, in the sense that I followed the education, and I learned the things, and I learned what was required of me. I was very young. I didn't have any deep grounding in my own tradition, so I was taken away by this alien intellectual tradition, and I became a dead person, in the sense that the ways of thinking that were taught to me were, actually, if you are greedy, if you are selfish, if you seek pleasure, this kills the soul. As there is a metaphor, a hadith which says that if you laugh too much, this can kill the soul. And it is true. It's just, if you pursue pleasure, it just destroys the human being, because actually the human being, the essence of humanity is the ability to feel the pain of others. And this is what the Prophet ﷺ did, Rahmatul lil Alameen, that when he is described in the Quran, it is said that he feels your sorrow more than you yourself. So today also, this is the most important thing. The example given by Rajab of his grandmother, this is the thing, that the ability to feel that other people will be hurt, and this is more important than my being happy. That is the essence of spirituality. It is the essence of religion. The good conduct is based on the assumption that we will not harm others the best thing is that we will do good for them, but if we can't, then we should be neutral, and at the worst, we should not harm them. But all of this can happen only if we have compassion in our hearts, if we have feeling in our heart, and we are able to sense the pain of others. And all of this is unscientific because it's all subjective and it is not part of human knowledge. And it is, you can go through from bachelor's to PhD and read 1,000 books, and not even once this will be mentioned. So the kind of education that is being given in the West and that we are giving to our children is killing the soul. And for that we need to make radical changes in order to prevent this from happening. Thank you.